Assalamu alaikum and welcome back into the last lesson in the Naskh script for this course. In today's lesson we are going to talk about the Harakat and some decorations in the Naskh. Now, general rule, if you used a certain thickness pen, you use 1/4 of that thickness for the Harakat and the the other stuff. So for example, if we used this 2 centimeter pen, we have to use 1/4 that, which is going to be 1/2 centimeter for the Harakat, as you can see here. So you use this for the writing, you use this for the Harakat. Now, since we got this out of the way, we are going to talk about the Harakat and stuff. We will start with the dots. We know that this is the 1 dot. 2 dots could either come next to each other or on top of each other. We could use either of them. Now we use the ones on top of each other if it was very hard to put them next to each other. Then we have the 3 dots, which you know how to write from the sheen and the third. These are the dots. Next we are going to talk about the Harakat. We have the Fatha, which comes several sizes, but note here that when you write it, you start with it thick, then you end it thin. In some cases we add a very long one, just like this one, when we want to fill in a gap. You could also have a shorter one that is smaller than that, just like this. Now these are all fathats. Kasrat, it could come this way. Now in some cases fatha and kasra are written like this with a curve, so these two also work. Now tanween, you will use double the fathat, whether it was the long one or the short one. This is tanween with a very small space in between. Tanween fath or tanween kasr. Now Damma. Damma is like a wow. You move up to this direction with a curve like this. Then you turn around just like this. And when you turn around, you keep some part extruded here, and this reaches down to here. After that, you move to the left like this. So you have 1, 2, that goes all the way down to here, and 3. 3 is this shape. It needs to be thin, thick, thin. This way you get the nice Damma shape. Just like this. Now, when you finish the Damma, if it was singular, it would be like this one. If it was tanween, you could either add this thing, or just add double of them like this one. You would add 1 and 2 next to it. Or you could use the number 2. Now in Arabic, Arabic numbers are sort of the English ones that were generated, these ones. So this is the number 2 in Arabic originally. Here, you add a Damma, then you turn around, then you do this one, which means that you have 2 of these, Damm, tanween. And with these, you could look at the Sokoon. For the Sokoon, we have several shapes. We have 2 shapes. The first one is basically a hat. The second one is like a hat, just like this. So for the second one, you go up and down, then you go back. Going back is 1/2 a thickness. You don't do it with a full thickness. You have the shaddi, which is basically just like a seam. So this is a shadd. You could come with fath or kasr or damm. and you have something with Hamza al-Wasl. So when you write Hamza al-Wasl, you add a letter up here, Sad, Sila. We have also the Mad, the one we saw in the Lam Alif, and of course we have the Alif. So this is basically Alif, and this is a Mad, to extend the letter. Then we have a Hamza. Now for the Hamza, we add the top part, which starts a bit thick but then goes back thin, and for the lower part it is very thick, is the full thickness. The third part is not full thickness, it's half a thickness. So you only have the second part to be full thickness in this letter. And this is for the Hamza that comes with an Alif, or that comes, for example, Amina Ahlul Qura, Amina. Here you have a Hamza, Mim, Noon, and here you have another Hamza which would be the exact as that one, Amina, have they felt safe about. And this is how you write the Hamza. Now you have sometimes some decorations we add to the Naskh. For example, commas, it's just a normal comma. We also add Mizan. Mizan is basically a balance to balance space. It's one, like a Lam Alif, then to like a sort of a curvy shape. This we use to cover things, and in some cases, if you saw these leaves, they call it Waraqa, and this is Mizan, just to balance the negative space, negative area, where the black and the white, the black of the color of the ink and the color of the paper, you need that to be balanced so that it won't feel like there's a huge gap. It would feel like things are close and neatly distributed. So we use these things. Now in some cases we also use decorations that are letters. For example, if we had a Ha, we add the letter Ha. If we had a Sin, we add the letter Sin. Sad, we add Sad. Now these are taken from Farsi. They really look like the letters in Farsi. And Ain. Also we have for the Ha. Now here, for example, Alhamdu. So, for example, Alhamdu. Here we have a Hamza Wasl, so we are going to use this Sad. Sah, Salah. Al-Ha. Here we have a Fatha. This is Ha, we could add a Ha here. Alhamdu. And here we have a Sokoon. We could add a Sokoon down here or up here. Or here. And the Damm. Now, of course, we said that we're going to use, so for example, this is a 2mm pen. You would use half millimeter for the Harakat. So I think this would be good enough. No, this is half. This is half the thickness. So we could work this one out. So here we can see a use for the Ha. If we had, for example, for the Sin, سرابيلهم من قطران. So you have a Sin, an Alif, سرابيلهم. Here we're going to use the normal Ha. And we could use the Sin. Either ways, so here you could use the Sin, And for the ha, you could add a ha. Add fatha, sara, b. Here it's a b, you don't add anything. Sarabiluhum. So this is how you sort of add the harakat on something and use these moves. There's also some decoration where you could put in your like put things on your writing. Now there are other things, for example, some calligraphers, for example, when they write kutiba fi sanat, written in year, they will write sana this way, but it is taken from the thuluth in general, like sanat 1442. With regards to the numbers, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should go back and look into them if they are sort of any value to you, because you need to learn them in order to write the dates, to date your piece of art. Now Hijriya, for example, written in 1442 Hijri, you would write a letter ha next to it. If it was Miladi, you would write a letter Mim. I think it's called Gregorian, or this Mim, Miladi. But yeah, we use the ha for Hijri. And these are for the harakats. I hope you find it beneficial to study the harakat. Now, if you were to write something in Nasakh, you need to choose the right pen to do that. So it shouldn't be a huge pen or a very small pen. The prettiest Naskh that could be done is the 1mm, but for the start you should use something bigger than that. Now we are going to use the 2mm, and we will see what size we will use for the harakat. Now, let us start with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So before we start, we are going to add 5 points to know the height. This would be the height of the text. So Alif, Alhamdu, Lillahi, Rabbil Alameen. We could use this Ra or the normal Ra. Let's use the normal one. Al-Alameen. Now here, Al-Alameen, we could extend this. We have a lam and a mim and a ya and a nun. Lam, I will use this mim. So So that when we connect, we will connect it to a ya. Then this ya would come out with a noon, and here we have noon. And the two dots for the ya, and the dot for the noon. So here we have Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Note that when you write, just like all calligraphy scripts, you have to keep an eye on the construction of the sentence. So here the end is the start, the height, it has to be governed, the drop below the line. So in general you will find that it is 2, everywhere it's 2, even here. You will find that the neat way of writing is about the scaling and things. Now, when you have gaps, for example, you have a space here that we deliberately put on, and a space here. These spaces will be filled with the harakat. You should always think of the harakat. You shouldn't forget about them. Now, some calligraphers actually do the harakat before they write the words. So for example, they will write alhamdu and do the harakat for alhamdu. Now we get a smaller pen, smaller size pen. Here we have a Hamza wasl, so we add the salah for it. Alhamdu. I could write the ha, the fatha for the ha here, and the Sokoon below it for the meme, and here I would add the dhamma. Lillah, kasra for li. Allah, usually we add a shad and we add the lillah. Lillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now here we have a fatha. I will add a big one. I will add a shad and a kasr below it. You see how big the kasra is? Or you could add the shad and you would add the kasra here. Al-Alameen. I could have used this to be the fatha for Ra, or I could just put it on top of this, and in this gap I will add a mizan to make it look pretty, to balance it. Al-Alameen. Here we have a mad, so we don't add sukoon. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Al-Alameen Fatha. Here you could add the sort of the mad, because Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, meen could be extended for 2, 4 or 6 points in the Quran. Now here you could add a ayn. The ayn we talked about, this one. Adding a ayn here balanced the space, as you can see. Here you could add a ha, because you wouldn't have these 2 points, you could add a ha. For the ha, you could add a ha down here or up here, whatever you want. You could add a comma here to balance it. So this is how you construct it. It has to look like a nice block, as you can see here. You need two sizes, because it is a bit hard for you to use a 2mm pen to write the harakat with and get them as perfect as using, for example, this size of a pen. So the rule is the quarter of the pen that you are using, you use for the naskh, and this is how you write the naskh. You've got the Holy Quran, all of it is written in naskh, so open the Holy Book and just practice from that. Now that's very important for you to check what you should do with the paper that you write Quran on. So you don't write Quran and just throw it anywhere, or you don't write Lafz al-Jalal Allah and just throw it anywhere. You need to find the right way of disposing it. It's either burying it or burning it, or like it has disposal methods of ways. This has been the last class. I hope you enjoyed it. recap yourself about this class, and here you have a practice for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you want to, and stay in touch for the next lessons and classes. This has been Amar Alaudi, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.